everybody. I am so happy to be here with you. Stacey and I wanted to talk just a little bit. Hopefully this will be sort of a devotional and encouragement to you. But I know for me, for Stacey, and I can imagine for so many of you out there, that this has been a really challenging time just with everything that has been expected of all of us, especially if you are working from home, working to help your kids do school from home, and all of the things just being pulled in so many different directions in a very different fashion than what we're used to. So Stacey, I was hoping you would just share a little bit about your girls, your husband, your family, and what it's like working from home and doing school from home too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I have two girls, 7, and one that is 3. Just turned 3. And yeah, both my husband and I are working from home. Garrett works for the church. And so we're balancing all those things that you just mentioned, and have one office space in our bedroom, and he's occupying the girls as we speak. We try to tag team when we can. It doesn't always work out that way when we both have meetings at the same time. It gets a little tricky, but yeah, I'm sure many know what that's like too. So so managing those things, and also managing the house, living from home 24/7. I know we all know how crazy. We didn't think how hard it would be to cook all the meals and clean and and care for the kids and work and do distance learning, and so those are the things we're juggling.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is just craziness. A lot of similar things with me. I have kids, that are obviously a little bit older, but even with that, just trying to manage and encourage and do all of those things for them. I have found that I have really wrestled with, what am I going to let go of? What is going to be compromised? I'm sure, I know for myself, there were many ideals that I had about how it was going to go down. And so I have to ask you, for your family, have you guys had to be like, okay, reality time, what are we going to compromise on?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that happened in the first hour. At least the reality hit. I don't know if I fully understood what I would have to compromise at that point, but the tricky part is we're doing so many things literally, it feels like at once. I mean, most days it feels like, all the things both of us have experienced, it can happen minute by minute. One kid comes up, needs one thing, another one. In the middle of a Zoom meeting, sometimes they're like staring at me from the other end with their, maybe it's a chocolate bar and maybe it's a Barbie, but it's crazy. So, so I spent time, I think, thinking it was almost a necessity to figure out what we could compromise on. And I'm a bit of a recovering perfectionist. So that is a hard thing to, to just figure out. What can we drop here? I think that coming to the conclusion that it's kind of an unrealistic expectation for us all first was very freeing. We're forced into all these new roles, but it can be unrealistic. So I think for me, I needed to be upfront with my daughter's teacher that the school workload was just taking a toll on her. Our district is pretty strict. So they have many assignments every single day, even in the first grade. So I had to be able to be vulnerable with the teacher and just say, hey, this isn't good for my daughter's emotional health. And she can get the work done, but it's taking too long and we're kind of a hot mess while it's all happening. So I think being vulnerable was the first thing that I had to do, and reaching out for help and letting people know. And so we let go of, I asked, what are the main things she needs to do? And so we scaled back a lot of the school workload. that was hard because it's an expectation that it should be done, but we just can't. We can't. So so that was the first thing, and I think learning to give everybody, and this is a daily thing, so I don't by any means have this down, but just remembering, like, what does it look like to have grace for just a child that just turned 3, and what does it look like for grace for a 7-year-old and a husband, and for myself? I think I have the hardest time giving grace to myself. So what does that look like, And for me, the schedule, like you alluded to, like I had a color coordinated schedule and it was pretty and it worked for a week. Had a reward system and those things, they work, but I had to remember that if it only works for a week and I have to readjust, that's fine. It's not something I'm doing wrong. It's just, we're in a weird time and things are changing. And so that was grace for myself that I had to have, and just adjust.
Yeah. No, definitely the word grace has come up so many times because I am one of those that am like, I am not going to let this get me. I am going to hunker down. We are going to man this ship. And sometimes it's like, no, my kids are like, no, I'm sad and I'm upset and I'm overwhelmed and we're not hunkering down right now. And you have to pause and be like, you know what? The Lord does this for each of us in those moments. And so we have to remind ourselves too, to be like, it's okay. It is okay. This is an unprecedented, really odd time. And to be able to accept what everybody else is, some people will be leaning on something and some people will be leaning on something else. And you have to be okay with what you feel comfortable for your family, because there's just so many different dynamics here.
Yeah, that played out in our life over here.
Yeah.
I think the comparison trap was huge.
Yes.
Just seeing other people's resources and what they were able to accomplish or what they were able to do was huge. And letting that go, that has been hard, but I mean, that's what makes up all the difference, right? I mean, you can hunker down, because I'm like that too. I'm strong. I feel like I try to be strong, but at what cost, right? Like, in the long run, is all of the school assignments worth someone's emotional health or our relationships because, we're yelling all the time and that sort of thing. So
no,
I got to do that. The cost ratio in my head.
So I have one more question for you. I would love to hear how, in this unusual circumstance, how God has met you in your family, maybe in some ways that you hadn't expected, in the midst of all of this, because I truly, truly believe that even in our heartache, in our disappointments and our frustrations and anxiety and all of that, God sees our heart. He sees what we're trying to do, and he does bless us through those ways. So is there something that you can share about, like with your family, that you've seen unfold?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that I feel like God has met us in a very intimate way. And just, I think being Garrett working for the church and us doing ministry in a lot of ways, sometimes the way we see God is in other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And that is so encouraging. And even in church service, it's so amazing to see people get baptized and you're watching other people's transformation. Yeah. But the way I feel like God met us was so intimate in that I've seen transformation in my kids' lives. And so much of the time, 7 and 3, you don't really expect, you don't know what to expect and how God would meet them. But it's been so amazing. I knew from the get-go, the very first day, I felt so chaotic with everything changing, that I knew we're not going to get through this without prioritizing God as the anchor in our family. And I mean, it almost makes me a little sad because that should be our attitude all the time. But, we go on with life and we get distracted. But realized, how can we do that though with our 3 and 7-year-old? And so we started reading the storybook Bible every day. And I just watched that their little hearts, like, it fueled them. They wanted story after story. Some nights we would read 3 in a row, and they don't sit really for books all that well. So I just felt like it was something that God met them so personally in their heart that they felt comforted by those stories that happened, so long ago. And we were able to watch our 7-year-old accept Christ a couple weeks ago, which was obviously just so beautiful. Yeah, and we've been experiencing a lot of prayer time. And I think, all of that has happened amongst a very messy time.
Yeah.
It's all amongst all the mess, these fruits. And so even thinking of how God has met us, it's been something that's, I encourage us all to do that, because I know He is meeting us in such intimate ways. And sometimes because our life isn't like perfectly tied up every day, and maybe there's more yelling than we want, or, we see the areas we still need to work on, or we're so overwhelmed. But I think looking back and seeing the fruit from day to day and how He's working in our family has been really beautiful for us, and just encouraging. It's really what I think helps us, keep going, relying on God's strength in that way.
And I think for all of us, I know this year, I don't normally have a word for the year, but I was challenged to have one this year, and my word is breathe, which the moment that I got my word, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a doozy of a year, I have a hunch. But in the midst of that, almost every day, there is a moment of like, take a breath, look up in the midst of all of the craziness, and just pause on the goodness of God, because He is good every single day. And I hope that when this is over, that in my broken way, I can remember how important it is to still do that every single day, and so I'm just going to wrap up this time. I'm going to share a verse that I came across and just thought it was really encouraging for all of us as we're going forward here. It's from Psalms 31, 23 and 24. It says, love the Lord, all you faithful followers of His. The Lord protects those who have integrity, but He pays back in full the ones who act arrogantly. Be strong and confident, all who wait on the Lord. And so I think I think you would agree, Stacey, from like both of our hearts out there to all of these families, like in the midst of all of this difficultness and craziness, if we can just remind ourselves to wait on the Lord and be strong and confident in Him, we will pull through this. And just know that in all of the craziness, He's still with us every day, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, I am so thankful that you were able to do this with me today. So thank you. And I hope you and everybody out there has a great rest of your day.